When I turned 20, I reached a moment in my life where everything felt blurry and uncertain, as if I had suddenly lost the map that guided me. Continuing my studies no longer made sense to me, because deep inside I felt that the traditional path was not where I belonged. I wanted something different, something that would make me wake up each morning with a sense of excitement instead of pressure or confusion. That desire grew so strong that I eventually made the decision to quit school and dedicate myself completely to creating videos. Of course, my family initially resisted the idea, believing it was too risky or unrealistic, but after months of tension and arguments, they finally accepted my choice. At that moment, I felt free and motivated to start learning on my own, using the internet as my only teacher. But very quickly, I discovered another challenge. I kept falling into the trap of Netflix. I would sit down with the intention of learning, but within minutes I found myself watching episodes instead of making progress. Netflix slowly became the biggest enemy of my focus, draining my attention without me even realizing it. Hours would pass, and by the time I noticed, the day was already gone. It was this constant cycle of distraction that pushed me to search for a solution. I wanted to understand why I couldn't stay focused and why my brain kept running away from learning. It was during this search that I discovered something important, almost like a hidden treasure: the concept of neuroplasticity. I learned that the brain has the ability to adapt, grow, and reshape itself depending on how we use it. This ability explains why humans can learn new skills, change habits, and react quickly in dangerous situations. Without neuroplasticity, we wouldn't even recognize a threat when someone raises their hand to hit us. But what shocked me the most was discovering that this flexibility decreases with age, especially after 25. Learning that neuroplasticity decreases with age, especially after 25, struck me like a warning bell. It made me realize that if I wanted to truly change my life, I had to act before my brain became less flexible and harder to train. This thought pushed me to look deeper into my habits, and that's when I understood how much unnatural dopamine I was consuming every single day: endless scrolling, Netflix, fast entertainment, and even unhealthy lifestyle choices. All these things made my brain crave quick pleasure and reject any activity that required real focus or effort. So I decided to start a challenge: 1 week with no sugar, no Netflix, no pornography, no alcohol, and no cheap dopamine. The first days were incredibly difficult. I felt tired, bored, unmotivated, and even anxious at times, as if something important was missing from my life. But that something was simply the withdrawal from constant stimulation. I kept pushing myself, and after 7 full days, something changed. My mind became clearer, my energy returned, and suddenly I felt the passion I had lost. With renewed focus, I started learning again, studying how to create better videos, trying new editing techniques, and pushing myself creatively. But just when I thought I had solved the problem, another challenge appeared. I realized I was spending entire days working without actually producing anything meaningful. I would sit for hours, jump between tasks, rewrite scripts, or change ideas constantly, and by the end of the day, I felt exhausted but with nothing to show for it. This confusion pushed me to explore the world of productivity, searching for why my time was slipping away. That's when I discovered powerful principles that many people ignore: ideas that completely changed the way I work and think about goals, time, and concentration. The first major lesson I learned was the importance of setting clear and realistic goals. I realized that waking up without a plan was the fastest way to waste a day. So every night, I began writing down exactly what I wanted to achieve the next day so I could wake up knowing my direction. The second principle I discovered was understanding the mental block. Sometimes, while writing a script or working on a project, my brain would suddenly freeze, unable to generate ideas or solutions. Instead of forcing myself, I adopted a new rule: take a 15-minute break. Walk, breathe, drink water, but never switch to scrolling or entertainment, because the goal was to rest the mind, not overstimulate it. Another powerful concept came from Brian Tracy's book Eat That Frog. Start your day by completing your hardest task. That task is your frog, and eating it first gives you momentum for the rest of the day. I also learned something crucial: the human brain cannot multitask. We like to believe we can work on multiple things at once, but in reality, every time we switch tasks, we lose focus and productivity. A single notification can pull you out of your flow state, and studies show it takes up to 15 minutes to regain full concentration. Understanding this changed everything for me. I began turning off notifications, putting my phone far from reach, and creating a space free of distractions. I also realized that caffeine was giving me only the illusion of productivity. At first, coffee made me feel more focused, but over time it stopped working, and I needed more just to feel normal. Eventually, the reliance on caffeine turned into stress. That's why I decided to reduce it gradually. And then came meditation, a practice I always thought was strange, but it proved essential. Spending 5 to 10 minutes a day focusing on my breathing helped me rebuild my attention and control my thoughts more effectively. As I continued improving my habits, I discovered something many people overlook: boredom is necessary. We live in a world where every second must be filled with stimulation, phones, videos, scrolling, but this constant input destroys our ability to focus deeply. I forced myself to break the habit, going to the bathroom without my phone, waiting in line without scrolling, and allowing my mind to simply exist without entertainment. This helped retrain my brain to stay present. Another key lesson was Parkinson's law, which states that a task will always expand to fill the time given to it. If you say you'll finish a project in 30 minutes, your brain works faster and you get it done. If you give yourself 2 days, it will take 2 days. Learning to assign the right amount of time to each task boosted my productivity. I also learned about the chain of losses and wins. One small loss leads to another, one episode becomes 5, a few minutes of scrolling turn into an hour, and suddenly you're wasting the whole day. But small wins also create bigger wins: waking up early, exercising, eating well, finishing one task. These victories build momentum. I started protecting my first and last hour of the day: no phone, no distractions, just calm and intentional actions. Then I realized the biggest difference between me and the most productive people in the world: they know how to say no. They protect their time fiercely, while most people say yes to everything and end up exhausted and unfocused. The final lesson, the most powerful one, is the importance of sleep. Rest is the foundation of concentration, creativity, and productivity. Without good sleep, the mind becomes slow, the body becomes tired, and even the simplest tasks feel impossible. Once I fixed my sleep schedule, everything in my life improved: my focus, my mood, my progress, and even the quality of my videos.